Hi, my name's Kym Scott, and I'm an early years trainer, consultant, and conference speaker. And I'm really excited that I'm working with e-Qualitas on their teacher training. And the first piece of work I'm going to be doing is based around maths in the early years. As part of the maths training that I will be delivering for e-Qualitas, I'm going to be looking at what early maths mastery really looks like for young children, how we can support that through enabling adults, engaging environments, and so on. And then for those who attend the session, I will be giving you a link to a follow-up bonus module, a training film that I have created around mathematical mark making. So there will be follow-up learning to happen for you if you want to take advantage of it. It might be strange to talk about maths for very young children, particularly from birth, because we don't think about their development in terms of mathematical development. But when we look at child development, we look at cognitive development, how babies are learning to explore the world around them and understand and build knowledge. And actually, inherently, when young babies are exploring, maths is a core part of that. There's plenty of research already, for example, that shows that babies develop an understanding of quantities and differences in quantities way before they're able to count. And I think we know now that what we might think traditionally of as mathematics might not be appropriate for our youngest children in the EYFS, but they are being inherently mathematical in their play and exploration. And if, as we as adults can tune into that and build upon that, then that is how we're starting to grow our mathematicians. Now, as children get into the older age ranges of the EYFS, say from 3, 4, and 5, we're starting to introduce them to early number, even early calculating, as well as learning about shape and space and measure. All of these things are really important for young children because they will be building the foundation for the later mathematical learning that children will go on to do through school. But even more importantly, they are introducing children to maths that they'll be using for life. And traditionally, we haven't always thought about the maths we learnt at school as being useful for life. But if you think about a young child's day, say before they come to nursery, maths is a part of it all the way through. There's how many spoonfuls of their breakfast they need to eat. There's 5 more minutes before they need to leave. There's counting the stairs when they go up to bed in the evening. There's talking about how many sleeps until they visit their aunt. And that's without all the other kind of mathematical learning that goes on. If they're in the bath playing with bottles and pouring, they'll be exploring quantities. I think it's so important that we help children to see how much maths is an everyday part of their life and to give them that really good foundation, not just of knowledge around maths, but of falling in love with maths and everything to do with it. And that way we'll get a great nation of mathematicians. So when we think of maths teaching, we sometimes think about doing very direct teaching, asking children specific questions, asking them to count things. And at times that can work. But what we know is most effective is when we join children in their everyday play and help them to see just very naturally how maths can make their play better. It might be about asking questions, or it might be about posing problems. I wonder if we can get one more on top of that tower. It might just be about adding vocabulary in the right way. Gosh, that's huge, that spider. It's massive, isn't it? I don't think I've seen one as big as that. Adding teaching into play is what we do all the time in the early years, and we call it interacting. And it means that children are relaxed, engaged in their play, and really in a good place to take on that new information. So when I'm working with teachers, practitioners, parents about supporting children's young maths development, I do it in a variety of ways. I, first of all, really try to help them to understand the basic mathematical concepts that it's really useful to have under your belt as a young child. But then I will always focus very clearly on the pedagogy. The pedagogy is the how. That's what really makes a difference as to whether a child falls in love with the idea of maths or whether they learn to see it as something that they're not very good at and that doesn't mean much for them. Now, the way that I do that is I talk a lot about learning environments. I talk a lot about engaging experiences indoors and outdoors. And I also talk about the role of the adult and the type of interactions we have. Sometimes I'll do those very practical workshops with parents or with teachers where we're getting resources out and playing. More so since COVID, I'm doing a lot more online. And one thing I'm really proud of is my online learning platform called The Place to Learn. Now, in The Place to Learn, I have pre-recorded my training, but made it into films. So you get me talking just like this, but you also get lots of photographs, video examples, input from other experts and professionals. And people can watch that as whole teams. They can watch it on their own or individually, but they can come back and watch those courses again and again. And my next step, something I'm working towards, is creating something very similar for parents, just much shorter little videos highlighting to them what we all have had the benefit of knowing about research into early childhood development and learning, but also how they can support their child with this at home. So lots of different ways in which I provide that learning and teaching. And as somebody who didn't think they were good at maths at school, I have learned that we are all mathematicians. We just have to recognize it in ourselves.